All right, let's do a cheers for the camera.
A cheers.
Tink. Mrs. Cannon and Mrs. Potato. Mr. Potato. So we are here in Germany, Munich, and we organized something crazy. And we organized it really spontaneously, like 2 weeks ago.
That's right.
And I just found out that if you don't bring free food, people don't show up.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so that,
we both
that is
learned
a lesson.
that today.
Yeah, that is a lesson.
With this experience we
so
did.
next time, free food for German people.
Yes, and then more will come. But this is good.
Yeah.
This is a good turnout.
Okay, so let's. I met you a year ago, I think. I just discovered luxury wedding photography. I was like 8 years into photography. I felt like I did everything in the world in photography, and I was like, where do I grow? Like I'm selling my time already, and I was so tired of selling my time because I didn't have time. And I did too many jobs and always raising my prices, and I was like, how far can I actually raise my prices? Like, should I quit soon? And then I saw an ad of some guys who are charging $50,000 for a luxury wedding. So that is 5, 0, and then 3 more zeros. Yeah. I've never heard of those prices. That's like 2 years' salary for someone. And it goes even to 70. So I was like, what is this industry? I've never heard of those prices. I've never heard of this thing. So much value. So I started Googling a little bit around what is luxury wedding photography, and Instagram, searching people like that. And this is how I found your profile. And I saw your photos and I was like, whoa, this is insane. And then I saw also that you are teaching it a little bit, and I was like, wow, there's like no one is teaching it. No one is speaking about it even. And I think also I looked on your profile, on your website, and I even saw your prices maybe. Could it be a year ago?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah. And this is like how I was like, I will remember this person. Like from just a profile that you look at different profiles. Yeah. And then my Instagram blew up, and I was like, I should do a podcast with you. That was a year ago, and now
I think it was, yep.
Now
and now here we are,
that.
a year later. Yep.
Yeah, and then we were hopped on a call, and I remember you told me some really fascinating things about how you find clients, some really interesting techniques and ways that I never heard before. And this is why we're here. We're gonna expose your secrets today.
Yes. First secret though, I'm not charging $50K for weddings. Okay. That's the first. Wow. But yeah, I mean that is a possibility for people.
It is.
Yeah.
You're growing there, and you told me that you did some insane weddings already, some really luxury. I did also, I'm not sure about the weddings that I did, if they were like super luxury, but I did some events that like people were flying with private jets to this event, and I was the main photographer. So it was a lot of it was scary, but people were flying from all over the world with private jets, and it was huge. And I mean, when you look at it, it's like budget unlimited. I was like blown away. They could have they hired every single person you can think of, basically. It was just a show. It was insane. But how are luxury weddings? How does it look like, and how does it work?
Yeah, so luxury is kind of a hard word to pinpoint because luxury can mean a lot of different things. But even some of the venues I've had the chance to work at and the weddings I've had the chance to photograph. I mean, I've shot at Versailles, which is, it's hard to get more luxurious than Versailles.
I don't know what it is.
I know you don't know what it is, which is so strange. But it's the Chateau of Chateaux. It's outside of Paris. Okay. It's where Marie Antoinette famously had the last years of her life, and you need to do a Google later and learn about French history a little bit. But to me, Versailles, that was a milestone in my business for sure. But I think for me, it's from the beginning of my business, it was just trying to find the couples that I most connected with and I was most inspired by, and that has led to some really luxurious events and luxurious clients. But for me, it always comes back to whether or not I really connect with them as people. And I think we talked about this too once before, of just wanting not just luxury, but wanting events that have a soul to them. And they're not just beautiful, but there's meaning behind the beauty.
People with the same values like us.
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Normal
and so
people.
Yeah, normal people. But I mean, so there's different kinds of luxury. There's different kinds of people that have bigger budgets for photography, and I think it just comes back to how important it is to know your ideal client, to have that picture in your head of who's the couple I want to work with, that I'll get along with, that'll be kind, but that also will value your work, and then therefore be willing to pay a lot more for that. Which in turn allows you to do much more for them because you have the means to do so.
So I think to a normal person who's listening to this, he might think, the more money someone pays me, the harder I need to work. Is that true?
For actually producing?
From my experience, it's not true. So it's like some people just pay a lot, but they don't expect you to do so much more work. It's just work smarter and be it.
I was going to say, it's more work smarter and work with
confidence.
Service mindset.
Yeah, it's confidence, right?
Yes.
It's a big thing.
And it's providing an exceptional experience where it's not just about the products that you're providing in the end. Because the photos itself, is it the photo that's worth that much? In the end, it's going to be the experience that the couple has leading up to the photos. And it's going to be how you present the photos and the way in which you interact with them and how much they feel loved and valued, and all of that together equals a luxurious high-end experience.
And what is the difference between, like, let's say, a normal wedding, which is still like a good wedding, or I mean with a budget, and a luxury wedding?
I mean, of course, budget. How much people have to actually provide. Are you meaning on the service end or on the couple's end?
On the service end.
Okay. On the service end, it's exceptional customer service. It's fast responses. It's thinking ahead, thinking above and beyond, finding ways to surprise couples.
Basically knowing them better than they know, or knowing their problem, what they're looking for, better than they know themselves.
And within the destination niche that I'm in, within Europe, it's also being able to predict, okay, so this couple's flying all the way from the States to come to Europe for a wedding. So how can I, as someone who's here, help be a bridge between the two places? How can I think ahead and say, these are the things I've thought through. Like in collections, for example, having a collection that already includes coverage of the welcome event so that couples don't have to think, oh, should we have coverage for that? I've already suggested it and said, all your guests are gathering together. Why not just have that as part of the collection? And so just anticipating what their needs are going to be and being that expert and being able to provide exceptional service is what sets you apart and what enables you to raise the prices.
Do they want a lot of contact with you, or do they usually contact only the event planner?
It does depend on the couple. I work with couples one-on-one a lot, but then sometimes it's all directly through the planner. Other times it's a nice mix of the two. I think a mix of the two is my favorite. Working with planners is wonderful. Planners are the angels of the industry. They're wonderful. Yes, they're just so organized. They are on top of things. So I do really enjoy working with planners, which does enable me to do more higher end events.
So when I think about a planner, I instantly have in mind an agency.
No, these are individual.
Yeah, but I'm thinking because in my niche in event photography, you have sometimes an agency that basically, first of all, they take all the cut, and then they let you do as minimal as possible, and they try to control you and those kind of stuff. But with luxury weddings, it's the opposite.
Yeah, within my niche, the planners that I work with, they're self-employed just like me, and yes, they do have sometimes a bigger staff, or they have people that come for the day to help out, just be hands to carry, because it's a massive production. But no, they're just there to provide an experience for the couples that goes above and beyond anything I've witnessed before. But also a huge thing is design. Yes. Well, especially for destination weddings, the amount of work that goes into booking accommodations and booking all the transportation. If it's a chateau outside of Paris and all the guests are staying in Paris, the coordination of getting all the guests to Paris, and not just getting them there, but making sure the experience of getting there is great. To make sure that the van or the shuttle shows up outside the hotel and it takes them directly to the chateau and it picks them up later. The planners are in charge of crafting a really beautiful wedding day, yes, but also the welcome events and the farewell events, making sure that all the guests are taken care of, that welcome packages are waiting in their rooms when they arrive. All of those things are difficult for a couple to pull off when they're there to experience their wedding day. And so with destination weddings, I always advise couples to hire planners because I think it takes the pressure off of them and it allows them to just relax and enjoy the day. And then it comes off in the photographs too, right? Like if the couple's more relaxed, you see that in the photos. Yes.
Because I remember what you just spoke about.
Because photographers become planners. If there's not a planner.
I've had all those hats that you spoke about.
Then all of a sudden we're the ones like running to catering, making sure that the dinner's on time. Yes. Yeah. So if a planner's there, then that's taken care of, and we can focus on our job. So that's good.
Well, this is why we burn out sometimes.
I know.
So much stress, suddenly needing to transport everyone or taking care of that, and then okay, that makes sense. That sounds good. Interesting. So how long have you been doing that? So I started my business in 2019, which was right before the pandemic, which is so great. Great. You're
great.
ironic, right?
So I started in 2019, and obviously by my accent, I'm from the States. I grew up in Wisconsin. And then I studied abroad in England for a year, and I met my German husband. So that is how I ended up in Germany. So then in 2019 is when I started my business, and I had just a small amount of weddings that year through my husband's network. So it was smaller scale German weddings. My first ever wedding, which I love this story actually, was I had just gone to the town hall in Germany, the Rathaus for the Germans, to register my business. So it was official. So I hadn't done any paid projects yet because I wanted to be official. So I went to the town hall, got that, and then afterwards my husband said, you know what, let's go celebrate. Let's go to lunch. So we go to this tiny cafe in this small German village, and we're having lunch, and our waitress has an English accent. So I start talking to her in English about life and learn, as one does.
Someone understands me finally.
And ended up learning that she was engaged and that she needed a photographer.
Wow.
And, long story short, I ended up being their photographer. So she was my first ever bride. I think I charged 250 euros for the day. But I love it because it just goes to show that you never know how weddings are going to come, how you're going to get in touch with these couples. And we're still in touch on social media, and it's so sweet. Shout out to Beth. It's sweet for me to see how it was just a simple connection and it led to something, and it was just like the boost that I needed to have that first step. So yes, after my first season in Germany, all the money that I made on those weddings, I didn't even put towards new gear. I put to traveling because I wanted to shoot weddings in France and England and Italy. I wanted to work with American couples who valued more of the fine art, elevated aesthetic that I was so drawn to. So instead of buying new gear, I had my one baby, and I had a backup. So when I did weddings, I could cover them. But then I just invested in traveling to the places where I wanted to be working in. And
that is a big deal. That is a big mindset. I've never heard that before, and I've been trying to kind of implement it myself. But can you explain what do you mean traveling? What do you do? Yeah,
so really to break it down, I wanted to shoot weddings in Provence, and I knew Provence, France, south of France, and I knew that was a hot spot for Americans getting married in Europe. It's become, it's kind of,
only.
Italy is still a huge one, but Provence is becoming more and more. It's the lavender fields, it's the chateaux.
I thought
it's
Americans
really
and French
attractive.
people don't get along.
Oh, they do.
They do. Okay.
We love all things France, so it's a good match. Yes, but I wanted to shoot weddings there, but I'd never been to Provence. So I got in touch with some people, planned a styled shoot, My first styled shoot was with a planner who was also just starting. So it was perfect because we could kind of go in together and
same mindset.
We were both, and we were both just learning as we were going. We both didn't know what we were doing. But I loaded up my car. I drove 10 hours down to the south of France. And that's how I learned. I mean, I met up with her through that shoot. I met different people. But I would also just spend hours on Instagram looking for other planners in Provence, sent them messages and said, hey, let's get coffee. I'd love to meet you, take your headshots, just to start to form a network, relationships, and just start to gain expertise because I'd never been to Provence. I didn't know.
Can you elaborate on the outreach?
Yes,
so
reaching out to people.
Yeah, so you're sending messages to people. So I see it's a trend now to send 100 messages a day.
Oh, I don't like that trend.
Well, I see a lot of people do that, and also I get a lot of messages like that. But what I noticed is really low effort messages. So I assume, or my question is it like super high quality messages and you send like 3 a day or something like that?
I mean, I don't have a goal for myself necessarily of how many I send, but people, that's the best part of my job. I love people. And so for me, getting to do the relationship building is a part that not only comes naturally, but really excites me. So I think for me, it's about finding, I start on Instagram. You know, I see, okay, what does their work look like? If I love their work and I feel that maybe it's a good connection as far as just ideal couple goes, then it starts with a follow. It starts with just leaving comments. And if there's a clear response there, then it leads to an email, introduce myself. I say, hey, this is, I don't copy and paste it. I mean, the only thing I use templates for is if I'm reaching out to venues, which we'll get to later, or you can ask me now, whatever. But I still would change that based on the venue. But I think with the important thing with reaching out to planners or other vendors is finding common ground. So if it's a planner in Provence, but she's also American, then I'll say, hey, I'm also American. How did you end up to Europe? But just trying to find those just natural human connections, which is how we interact with people on a daily basis. You meet someone and you find the common ground. Like, oh, hey, we're both, we both like this, or we're both from this place.
I used to do it with values.
Pardon?
I used to do it with kind of values.
Yeah, I mean, values too.
Or we both work with the same clients, or we both believe in authenticity, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great place to connect to, is over values. Because then you both have the same way in which you approach the work, how you approach service is really big for me, and kindness. So that's a reason why I'd love to meet planners first.
You also become best friends with your clients?
Yeah.
I like that.
Yes. Yeah, or even we'll meet up. I just met up with one of my couples in London last time I was there. We just got drinks. It's so fun for me to get to journey with them, even if they're all the way in the States and I can't necessarily photograph each milestone of their life. We're still in touch and they're my biggest cheerleaders.
You know what I think it means? I think a lot of people have struggled with that because most people have kind of a toxic relationship with money. And then when they charge someone for something, they feel kind of like scammers.
Interesting. Okay.
And then it's hard for them to actually connect on a deeper level with a client.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I mean, I think it's finding a balance because yes, we need to be paid for our work, but it's finding the couples that really value the art and then see through the service into the person. I
found out it's all about communicating the value of why they pay you. And this is when you feel less like a scammer.
Yeah.
I mean, changing the whole
communicating the value, communicating the process, what you do, the work that goes into the services. And even if you're not saying it explicitly of, these are all my expenses and this is what it equates to, but to be able to walk someone through the experience that you provide for me, it's on, throughout the destination weekend, which is something I do in the consultation. I walk them through from the moment they book me to the moment they get their photos and even beyond what they can expect. So that already I'm communicating the experience and not just, you give me money, I give you photos. That's what we get from this.
This is really interesting. You share your prices online? Publicly.
My starting price, yeah.
Your starting price. Well, I'm learning sales now. And I'm kind of learning that first you need to communicate the value and make them feel like, oh my God, this is amazing, I want this, and then you share the price.
So I do have them on my website, but it's not on a specific investment page. It's on the experience page. So couples will click on my destination weddings page. It's not hidden, but you first learn about the experience, and then when I break down to kind of generally, this is what I offer, then I have my starting price. The reason I do is because I respect that couples have budgets, right? I respect that for them, it's helpful to kind of know what's the ballpark.
But your clients don't have budgets.
No, they do.
They do?
Yeah. I mean, higher end weddings can still have budgets, certainly.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's more the ultra luxury weddings, I think, have more flexibility on budgets.
This is pretty interesting. Have you tested it ever? Showing your prices, like how many people?
I have a little bit.
Yeah.
But I also, it's entirely personal preference. I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way to do it. I think it helps planners to know what the ballpark is, because some people take the full bespoke approach and they base their photos they base their prices entirely on what the couple wants. But then sometimes the couples on their end feel like, oh well, if we just tell you our budget, then you're gonna just charge us the budget.
Yeah.
So that's why I like having the starting price. It gives people an idea of what to expect. It also cuts down on the inquiries I get, which for me is okay, because I spend less time doing emails and more time connecting with people and responding to couples who already know that I'm within their ballpark budget.
That's really interesting.
So it's entirely a personal preference.
So I can imagine the benefits is people trust you much more. Because I think a huge problem, especially in the wedding industry, is couples cannot trust anyone. Because I had a couple, they said they called the venue. They said that they booked the venue that they booked only because all the other venues that they called, they first ask, hey, how much does it cost to make a business event here? X price. How much does it cost to do a wedding here? Double the price. So I think they feel so cheated on or scammed by everyone. So I can imagine that seeing your prices is like, she doesn't just tell me a price. That's whatever. It's calculated.
And it's such an overwhelming process for couples to be, even if they work with a planner, it's still a lot of decisions that they have to make. And so I don't mind just having my starting price being on there. I still offer just bespoke packages, more so through planners who already know my price range. They'll sometimes reach out and say, hey, I have this couple, this is how big the wedding is, this is how much coverage they want, and then I do bespoke. But if the couple, bespoke custom, it's a fancy word for custom. It's more like American. Within the fashion world, bespoke is more, but yes, custom quote.
I actually shared once in the middle of my career, I shared my prices on my website. A few days later, I got a message from one of my colleagues' friends. He was like, yo, Sam, you're charging way too much. And since then, I removed them.
Really?
I was like, I'm never saying them again. And I lowered my prices because I got like, because he was better than me, and he was doing it for a longer time. So I was like, if he's saying this, I think
he needed to raise his prices then. I don't think he.
Well, I don't. It's his decision. It's his thing. But
yes.
But it made me insecure.
Photographers love to talk about, do we put pricing on? Do we not put it on the website? But at the end of the day, it's just what works for each person and what they feel is working for the kind of inquiries they're getting, the kind of couples. So I get less inquiries in general because I'm not getting any of the ones that are lower because they see the price point and they say, okay, I don't think that photographer's right for me, and they look for someone else, which.
I kind of do it, or I thought people usually do it by the name luxury wedding photographer, so people know already it's not going to be.
Even that's tricky because I know some people who say luxury, but they are charging
not luxury.
Yeah. So it's hard. Like, what does luxury mean?
So can you share with us like what's the craziest wedding you've ever done? What is like the craziest luxury kind of? What is it? How does it look like? How does it feel like? Who are they?
Who are they? I had thrilling is a great word, wedding last season at a chateau outside of Paris that was a couple are from Brazil, and they brought everyone over. It was a big party, and apparently...
How big?
How big? So theirs in France was only 250, but they said for Brazilian weddings, that was an intimate wedding. Because in Brazil, it's typically like 600 people.
They fly 600 people?
No, so that's what's common in Brazil, but they wanted a smaller wedding. So they had it in France, so that it was 250. But it was,
that's a lot of
it
people.
was magnificent. I mean, the flowers.
Wait, they flew 250 people. Is that what you're saying?
Well, 250 people flew to the wedding. I don't know who paid for the tickets.
Okay, but you can basically book a whole plane for that.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm like, just book.
Did they?
I don't think they did. I don't think so. But they did. I mean, they flew over their hair and makeup. They flew over their priest. So they still could have a Portuguese religious ceremony.
Why not their photographer?
Pardon?
Why not a photographer then?
I don't know. They just
so
that was through a planner that I'm dear friends with, and I have been nurturing that relationship for a few years. We did a style shoot together, so that's a great example too of just finding those people that you really connect with.
Yeah.
And we've gotten to journey together and grow together, which has been really exciting. So that wedding was just really fun for me because I had not one but two second shooters with me. So we had a team of 3 people. And then they were getting ready at one hotel, and then 3 things needed to be shot simultaneously. So obviously I couldn't do all 3 things at the same time. So having to practice letting go, relinquishing some control, and training my team to capture things the way that I know my clients were expecting, that was a learning curve for me. And I think that's the more larger scale, bigger budget weddings I do, the more I'll have to just learn the production side of it too, and the organization and thinking ahead to things and
planning basically.
It is. It's, I mean, really I needed to take the planner's timeline and then break it down and say, okay, how do we capture all of this? I was doing portraits. I didn't even see cocktail hour, which was gorgeous based on the photos, because I was somewhere else. I was doing couples portraits.
So you hired other photographers and videographers as well?
No, just my team of photographers. They hired another friend of mine to do video. Yeah, and they had a team of 4. So there were 7 of us with cameras that day. So it was a long 7 people with cameras. Yeah, 4 on video team and 3
okay, well,
on
250,
photo team.
that's fair.
Yeah,
but that's a lot.
In multiple locations and large scale.
How were the people? How were the couple?
They were delightful. They were. Yeah, they were. Which is important.
Is it like an obligation to use high, fancy words when you're a luxury wedding photographer?
No, it's not.
No?
I studied English, so I guess I just like words.
I don't need to use
I don't know. You don't need to use delightful.
Okay.
No, you can just say they're cool or
cool.
Whatever
like
fits your brand.
Okay.
But no, they were delightful. They were fabulous.
I kind of do feel it is.
It is.
That I do need to use those words, right?
Okay.
Delightful.
Sure. It's on brand. It's on brand. Yeah. Okay. But that was a great experience. And then, the opposite scale, because it was very intimate, getting to shoot at Versailles was really special because, so there's a new hotel, Arel, Chateau de Versailles, that's on the grounds of Versailles. It's the first ever hotel on the grounds. And so this couple had booked an elopement there, but it was just the 2 of them and myself, and getting to witness that really intimate day, and getting to be there, as they're like getting ready in the room, and then relaxing afterwards, and getting to take their pictures on the grounds that they could use for private purposes only. All that was so special to get to do something that was the opposite as far as the scale of that really big Brazilian wedding, but that felt just as special and luxurious because I was providing this experience that was so special for them that they're going to cherish for life. Both, right? That is the job of photography, is providing these memories and these experiences that couples will cherish for generations.
What was their feedback to you? Like, what was there anything they were like?
Which couple? or both?
The
The
Brazilian.
Versailles. Oh, yeah. I mean, they were thrilled with them, which of course is
Well,
always
obviously,
but that's always the joy.
specifically, what did they like about you? What did they like?
The style of photos, they wanted the fine art that fit with the chateau. The bride loves pink, so there's a lot of pink. And even the dessert, they had a dessert room with all these macaron towers from La Durée. So she's very princessy, and so we really fit as far as the aesthetics go. But then I remember saying too, I remember her saying that just having, after we had the consultation where we just chatted, she just felt, yeah, there was a connection there. And so that just sealed the deal. You know, couples can look at 10 photographers' portfolios and love them all. But then they meet all 10 and one they'll just have that connection with.
How important is that?
For me, it's everything.
For the client.
And for the client, it's our job to communicate how important it is.
Yeah.
Because I think for them, most of them haven't gotten married before, right? This is the first time. So for them to think about, oh yeah, the photographer, I'm gonna be with them all day. More than you're with your spouse practically, right? Because we're there early morning, we're gonna be there at really special, sometimes private moments. And so for them to feel really comfortable with us will just elevate the whole experience. We won't just be a paparazzi, right? We'll be like a friend who's there to nurture.
It's a really interesting conversation because I remember growing up and I always thought about those photographers who are really like, first of all, sometimes with this ego, and then second of all, they're always hiding behind a camera and they're running around, not connecting to anyone. So this was my image of being a photographer at the beginning. And then I think one of my biggest lessons was my product is not my photos. It's me and the photos. But then something that is interesting to speak about is how much, maybe it depends per client as well, but how much is it the product of photos and how much is it yourself and how much value you can provide and connect?
It's hard to say percentage-wise what it is, but I love what you said about that because it's even when the couple sees the digital files of the photo, like when those land in the inbox, it's not just the photo they're looking at. It's the photo, but it's the whole experience that went around.
I heard a horrible story, actually.
You heard a horrible story. Tell me the horrible story.
I'm not sure if I should share it.
Oh no, you don't have to share.
But no, it's basically like a wedding that I heard someone told me as a photographer, told me that their friend's wedding was shot by someone who was basically hiding behind the camera and not saying anything. And it was their wedding, so they were like uncomfortable, first photo shoot, they didn't know what to do so much. And then the camera just stood there and just took photos and expected the couple to know what to do, but they didn't. So it was very awkward, and it was a wedding. So later on, they got the photos, and the photos were great. Everything was beautiful, the photos were beautiful. They loved the photos. But the memory behind it, so every time they look at the photos, if they print it, if it's generations to come, they will just remember the wedding as not so good of an experience. So they rebooked a different photographer to make photos after the wedding. But that's a crazy experience.
And that just goes, that narrates beautifully how important it is that we give our couples wonderful experiences, which, for those listening, if you're shy and you're not great with people, you can rehearse different things that you might say to them that might encourage them, make them feel more relaxed. It doesn't mean that you have to be someone you're not, but it just means that however you can to show up and make them feel confident, whether that's just saying, you look beautiful, which I always think it's interesting, the difference between you look beautiful and you are beautiful and how that affects couples, just encouraging them, just being the first one to speak and the first one to direct them so that they don't feel uncomfortable. It's just part of the job as a photographer, and it takes time. It certainly takes time.
I think the more confidence you have, the better your business is.
Yeah, and I do think confidence can be practiced for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah.
But I think it's just underrated and so important. But I think I figured it out while speaking.
Okay.
My second brain.
What did you figure out?
I figured it out. So, it's not exactly a percentage game. It's more the higher you go with your prices, the more it's about you as a photographer. as a person. So like the cheaper, like the client, right? The cheaper the client is willing to pay, or the more budget, the more it will be only focused on the photos. And this is where they start to control you and tell you what to do and how to be a person, basically, right? Because for them, you're just hands with a camera in their eyes. But then the more you can charge and the more you can explain your value and all those things, the more your value is in. I mean, of course, photos, like clients, they first look at your photos and then they see your character, because this is what they came for.
Right.
But a character can be very, very, very important. And I think it can be even 70, I think it can be even 80%, like the higher you go. Because you've seen those videos of those photographers who roll down and do the whole show and make people super, super funny, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how their photos look like. Not so much. Their photos can look okay, but this whole show is just worth booking him for. Do you see what I mean?
I do. Yeah.
So the more
how
you
make them
yourself,
feel. People book you for that. You know, if you do have a goofier personality and you show that off, and you're the one that can make the couple laugh and bring out that beautiful, authentic joy, that's an experience for couples. And then that is a reason that you can raise prices. You can have a greater demand just because people want to work with you specifically.
Yeah.
And I'm not much of a goofball, but I'm not the one to make my couples laugh. But you know, I've leaned into kind of the nurture side. I want to make sure my couples feel really comfortable and confident and beautiful and at home in the moment. That's really, I mean, that's why I do what I do, is to make people feel at home in themselves. And so I like that weddings allow for so many really beautiful organic moments where, I mean, I've seen grooms about to pass out because they're so nervous. I've seen brides who can't stop shaking. And just to be in the room and just to remind them to take a deep breath and watch them relax and then go out to the ceremony and feel more present, that too is just such a unique thing that we as photographers get to provide.
That's actually a really good one. Do you actually lead? Do you like, hey, you hold their hands and let's breathe for a second?
Yeah, if there's a need for that, yeah. And actually, the couple I mentioned earlier that I met up with in London to get drinks, I photographed their wedding 2 summers ago, and when we were getting drinks, he told me something that I wish he could have had in writing and I could put on my website, but he thanked me in retrospect because he said that day would have just gone by. Like, it was a blur, because wedding days are tunnel vision. It's so surreal.
It's overwhelming.
You know, you've planned so long for it, and it's so hard to grasp it. And you know, I even mentioned when I was taking his portraits, and I noticed his phone in his pocket, and so it was kind of, you could see the outline of it. So I just said, like, hey, can you pull that out so it's not in the photos? And that was just the start of it. And then he was one of the really nervous ones that I said, like, just take a deep breath, you're gonna be fine. And so when we got drinks, he thanked me for just noticing things like that and for reminding him to be in the moment, because he said valuable. That was something that he just had no idea would be a struggle on the wedding day. And as photographers, like, we're at so many weddings, we see so many couples. So to be the one to look someone in the eye and say, deep breath, it's okay, you know, everything's gonna be fine.
This is something that not everybody can do, and I think a lot of photography, it needs a lot of you need a lot of confidence and really feel comfortable with your client and with yourself and with everything you're doing, right? So most people wouldn't be able to do that, I think. If I would be you, I would really try to show that to the client before they book you. And you said you're learning acting, right?
Yeah, I'm training as an actor.
Yeah, so I would make a fake scene like that. Like a movie scene. That would be beautiful.
Gosh, no.
That would be beautiful.
No, I'd rather talk to them about it. No, but that's good. During my consultation.
No, it's a reel. You share it as a reel.
I share it as a reel?
Yeah, you have
All right,
a
I'll
client
think
who's
about it.
like this, and you're like, it's okay, it's gonna be okay.
You mean I'll play both parts?
And ASMR. No, you play one part.
Okay.
Yeah.
But it's a good reminder to have that in the consultation when I'm talking them through the experience that I provide, to add that in there. You know, to talk about that being something that it's a role that I see myself also playing on the day. It's not just photographer.
Yeah, but the quicker you can show it, the more attention you get.
All right, I'll think about doing a reel, Sam.
We'll speak about it later. Okay, 2 interesting things I want to speak about.
Yes.
I think first of all, we'll start with pricing.
Okay.
So you say that your starting price is X, and then like, do you want to share it?
Yes, I start at 6K.
Okay. What, dollar?
Euros.
Euros.
Yes.
So that
because
is
I'm based in I don't know. It changes all the time.
I think that's like
if I'm creating
500.
If I'm creating a custom proposal and I know the couple's American, I'll say the price in euros because that's still my business is in euros. But then I'll have the estimated exchange rate. Yeah. So that's one way I make it easier for destination couples to kind of understand
everything from their perspective. That's a principle.
Yeah.
It's a principle. So okay, so you start at 6,000. So let's say $6,500. Taxes included.
Yes. And travel included.
And travel is included.
Yeah.
All right. So where does it go from there?
The price points?
Well, yeah. If I'm a client, like what are upsells and what are down?
Yep. So the 6,000 includes 8 hours of coverage, a single photographer, and then in all my collections I include a linen photo box and a really pretty USB to again elevate the experience, provide heirloom gifts for couples. So that's in all my collections. Yeah. So yes, that's in the 6K. And then the 8K includes a second shooter and all-day coverage. Because all-day coverage is...
Be specific.
Be specific, yeah. I normally say around 12 hours, but it's gone more than that. Okay. Really, it's something I deal with on a client-by-client basis. Okay. So if...
And you don't want to kill yourself after 12 hours?
Pardon?
I don't want to kill yourself after 12 hours?
It's more the late nights that get difficult. So like, for example, I've shot a couple Jewish weddings and those tend to go very late. So, I mean, oftentimes they're partying until 5 a.m. and they do the cake at about 2 a.m. But, you know, I travel alone, I'm a female. So I don't want to be leaving certain venues at 2 a.m. and traveling back to my hotel with tons of gear. So that's a conversation I have with them, and I say, you know, okay, so if I'm going to stay till this time, this is what needs to happen, or that's always a conversation I have with them. You can
outsource it, can you? No.
I could, yeah.
Because it's not
I could, like the late nights, yeah, but I mean, I'm willing to stay later at some weddings if I'm staying on the property, or what did?
That's how it started.
You did?
Yeah, like the couple booked the expensive photographer for the day, and then they booked me.
You associate shot?
Yeah, I was doing the party photos.
Oh, the party. So they were sleeping, and then you were staying up late to do that.
Oh, yeah, I mean, 2 hours.
The late nights are hard. I've had like champagne sprayed right on me and my gear, and I went home smelling like champagne. The people on the airplane the next day were like, what was this girl doing last night? Because I just smelled champagne. So, you know, the late nights get just wild.
I've had it many times.
Yeah, but also I talk to couples too about, you know, if they do want 3 hours of dance coverage, I want them to know what that means in the gallery. So that is going to mean a large portion of the gallery will just be flash photography of dancing, which is great, but is that what you're going to print and put on display or put in an album? Some couples really value the party stuff. Other couples think, oh, okay, then actually I would prefer having those hours on the front end of the day because I want more photos of getting ready or detail photos, things like that. Yes. So again, it's a great conversation to have. But yes, that middle package is just all-day coverage, meaning we'll talk about what's best for you and how much they need. And then my top package is then what includes day before and day after coverage. So that's for the welcome event.
I like that. I like that.
And that one's really designed for...
It's a weekend, basically.
Yes, right. Because a lot of destination weddings end up being that. And it's becoming more and more trendy to add on a welcome dinner, a farewell brunch. Yeah. A lot of my couples too will book, especially Paris ones, if they're getting married outside the city. It's hard to do like photos in Paris and get married at a chateau an hour away all in one day. So they'll book the day before a sunrise shoot in Paris, and they'll still get their, you know, hair and makeup done, and then we'll do sunrise pictures at the Louvre or Trocadero by the Eiffel Tower, and then the next day is the wedding day. So that top package includes all those things to provide a really immersive experience where I'm just there for the weekend to capture what they need.
And who pays for the hotel then?
That's included. Yes. Okay. So I just decided to streamline it and make it easy for destination couples. So I include travel expenses within my pricing. So I kind of know for each wedding how it averages out, and I have to keep track of it, but it's easier for me to book accommodations because I know what I like, I know how close to the venue I like to be, and things like that.
So is that like destination weddings? So 6,000 and you book your flights as well, or?
Yes, flights and hotels, and then sometimes rental cars.
So you would, but flight tickets can be like $2,000.
No, so that's only within Europe.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, I mean, full transparency, about 1,000 is what I budget for travel within Europe. Sometimes it's 500, sometimes it's right at the 1,000, but it really balances out nicely.
Okay. I like the mindset of like, I'll take care of myself, don't worry about it.
Yeah. It makes it so much easier for the couples. They have less to worry about. And I mean, I have my system in place, so I know like which airports I like, my favorite rental car companies. So it's easier and streamlined for me as well.
Interesting. Do you have more upsells? Because I have a lot of upsells.
Yes. So then I also have an album. I offer an album for couples, and I design that. I work with QT albums.
Have you ever heard about Picktime?
Yes, I have. I mean, I've heard about a lot of places. I like QT albums.
No, Picktime. It's software.
They work with.
Oh, okay.
They work. Picktime just is another service that you utilize.
It's where I show the photo. Like this is where I deliver the gallery.
Yes, I use Pass. They do.
And then
albums.
they can do the albums themselves, the client himself.
Okay.
It's super
And
easy.
that's a service I provide instead.
But then who chooses the photos?
The couple still does. So they can go through the gallery and select about, I think it's 75 photos that they would love to see in the album. And then I take the time to lay them out in a way that explains the full narrative of the day. And the reason I do that is because, I mean, my couples are really busy. Sometimes, I mean, they're doctors, they're working professionals, and that's just one extra service that I can provide.
For sure.
So they just sit down with a glass of wine, they click which photos they want, send them off to me, I lay it out in the album, I send them a link to a digital proof. They say, yes, we love it. They order it. They get, within a few weeks, they get a beautiful album with white gloves that they put on.
Really?
Yes.
I like that.
It's all the details, right? So again, it's providing an experience.
This is actually
beyond just the product.
Sorry. This is actually how I started thinking about outsourcing, because I didn't know about Picktime. I didn't know, and I was like, I want to make them an album, but I hate making albums. I don't know if you like it.
I do like it. Okay. Yeah, it's the designer in me. I like to lay things out.
And then I was thinking like, how can I just have someone from a different side of the world just do it? Because it's all online. This is how it basically started a little bit.
Yeah.
But let's speak about, do you have more upsells?
What else do I have? I mean, of course, extra hours of coverage, additional photographers. So the second shooter is included in my middle and top package, but then yes, additional photographers, and then sometimes engagement shoots. Because I do all destination weddings, it's pretty unique. So I know some photographers, if they do all local weddings, it's easy to provide that in all of your collections because you live probably in the same city. But for me, I only do it if my couples are doing a site visit and then I have to fly to meet them. So I do it, but that's an extra thing. If they're gonna be traveling, checking out the venue beforehand.
And videos?
Then I don't provide video directly through my business, but I have a network of videographers that I love working with.
And you don't make them a package, you just...
No, in the past I have gone together with a great videographer friend of mine to do kind of a package, but we still, had separate invoicing, had separate ways that we charged and delivered things. But the collaboration was more, we presented it to the couple as, this is how, as a team, as artists, this is our vision for capturing your day. And they loved it because they knew then that we'd both be there with the same vision. So I'm a huge advocate for having great relationships with videographers because, you're working literally shoulder to shoulder all day. And so to be on the same team and have the same vision is a great offering to couples.
I have another 2 questions now.
Okay.
Quick question. Like for me, and I know for all photographers, it's really hard to say no to different kind of jobs. Do you do only weddings, or do you also take like other kind of jobs, like events or stuff like that?
So in my kind of unique situation, where I live in a pretty small village in Germany, and when I first started, I was doing more family pictures or a little bit of newborn, but it was some family pictures. But I found that there wasn't an alignment with the style that I was offering, and so I stopped getting inquiries for families. So for me, it has just been weddings because, and not just weddings, but destination weddings in France, England, and Italy. I don't even get inquiries for German weddings, just because. Yeah. But all that to say, I speak enough German. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Ich spreche viel Deutsch. Yeah. But all that to say, it's not because I'm not willing, it's just the market that I'm in is different. But of course, some of my past couples will reach out and they want, if they're going to be in Europe, they want family pictures, or if I'm in Paris, I did newborn for one of my other couples. Yeah. So I do get unique opportunities once in a while. Yeah. But as far as the bulk of my work is destination weddings and styled shoots and things like that.
All right. So we went over the most interesting or the most wanted question of everyone, which is pricing.
Okay.
The second most wanted question is, and then there's a third, I remember now. But the second most is, how do you get clients? And especially which you're in the worst case scenario, how do you get clients abroad? Right? Or to travel, or to pay you even to travel, because like most photographers would get like, why would I pay for your flight? I will just get like a local photographer, right?
Yeah.
So how does it work?
So big question. How much time do we have?
Yeah. Well, what is the time actually?
Really, like when am I going to lose my voice? That's the real question. We got all the time in the world.
How much time are we recording? 51. Oh, okay, we're good.
Okay. So getting clients. First and foremost, when I was just starting out, I knew what my goal was. It was to shoot weddings in England and France, and eventually Italy.
Because you saw those magical photos.
I saw the magical photos. I loved the aesthetic. I lived in England for a year, and just that enough created this connection there. Yeah. So I was drawn to it. Yeah. And as artists, we're drawn to things that inspire us and that fill us with beauty and excitement. And so for me, that was France and England. Yeah. So through my first wedding season in Germany, I mentioned earlier that I would just use that money for travel. And in that, I created content. I reached out to venues. I created styled shoots with other vendors. I just took generic travel imagery, and then that was the content that I shared. So that was the start of it, is just having the content that connected with what those ideal clients were looking for.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So venue.
So you mean venues, like you mean castles, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is the juicy secret that I have, that I'm happy to share with people. The reason it's a secret is because not a lot of people are doing it, and I think it's a missed opportunity. But it's great for destination photographers. So let's say like when I went to Provence, and I'd never been to Provence, but I wanted to shoot weddings in Provence. I got on good old Google, and I literally searched for best wedding venues in Provence. And I just started to research, and I looked at the websites, looked at pictures of weddings that take place there, and I started to find the ones that fit with my aesthetic, with my brand. I also looked for, is there, especially in France, is there social media in French or is it in English? Because if it's in English, they're attracting destination couples. If it's in French, they're working more with local couples. So just then maybe, I would be happy to work there if couple were getting married there, but it's more where do you put your energy and where do you prioritize your time? So then once I had that list and I planned my trip to Provence, then I started reaching out to those venues and really just said, hi, I'm Kristen. I introduced myself and gave him my website and said I would love to just come and see the venue. I've seen it online, it looks beautiful. I'd love to photograph the space, provide you with photos, get to know you. Great. And I mean, sometimes I don't hear back. Sometimes I get a no, but if it's a no, it's because it's booked for the weekend or no one's going to be there or something.
And then they say, we would love to have you another
next time. Yeah. But it's never no, we don't like your photos. You know, I think we can get really scared to reach out and to put ourselves out there. But just the practice of doing that can lead to so much. So yeah, and what that did for the venue, well, first what it did for me, it gave me content. It gave me photos of my dream venues that I could share on Instagram, I could tag them, I could do a blog post about that venue.
You still do that, right?
I still do this.
Okay, so we're not speaking about building your portfolio, we're speaking about all the time.
But this is how I started, and this is how I continue to nurture and create fresh content.
Brilliant.
So for me in the beginning, yeah, it created so much content. It was great for search engine optimization, SEO, which we love. Even pinning those pins to Pinterest.
You do that?
Yes, I also do that.
Really? I found Pinterest not a good return on my time investment.
Pinterest is a great way to get your photos and your work out there, I think.
Do you get clients from Pinterest?
I've only gotten a couple. In that regard, I'll be honest, but it's connected me with a lot of other vendors, a lot of other planners who find my images, and it gives me a lot of traffic to my website, which that in and of itself is helpful too for Google and things like that.
So you'd recommend it?
I would, yeah.
Okay.
But yes, but with venues, so on my side it's a huge benefit, but on the venue side,
do that, right?
Right, yeah.
No, like photographers don't really put themselves on Pinterest.
Oh, on Pinterest? It maybe just depends where. I think in the States, Pinterest is still a great spot to be.
Okay.
But it's just another way that you can get photos out there. But yes, going to photograph venues, on their end then, they're getting, it's an hour of their day to show me around the property, but then they're getting a gallery of photos from a photographer, but it's also of the empty space. So it's great photos for them to use on their website where, I mean, yes, it's good for them to have content with weddings, but sometimes it's also helpful to just say, here's the empty room so that couples can envision what they're gonna have there. But it's such a great service to venues. I'm on recommended vendor lists at venues just because I went and took photos there.
It's brilliant.
And it's a great place to just start the relationship. And now getting to go back to those venues and shoot real weddings is always really exciting because it's those steps that can lead there.
And you make portraits of them.
I do, and then I offer headshots, for
free.
Event, yes. It's very simple for me, and it's fun. I mean, it's fun for me to get to photograph spaces. It's great like practice for shooting architecture, which is such a large part of destination weddings.
You can connect on a deeper level then, right?
And again, you're not just the photos, you're the person in person.
So this is an amazing example of doing shoots for free, where it is valued and it is right. Because I think most photographers, or here I used to be like that, we do free work and we get burned out because people just don't value it. I think the principle behind it is to only help people that have something that you want.
It's not the mindset I would use.
Well, but
I can see what you mean.
But if you don't do it, then you're burning yourself out because then you shoot for everyone.
Well, I do think, I guess the way I would word it though is collaborating with people that we have shared values, we have shared ideal clients. And for me the values is always kindness. You know, how do they make people feel when you're at the venue? Do you feel welcomed? Because if I recommend that venue, I want to recommend it knowing that couples are going to come and feel welcomed and feel appreciated and feel at home. So it's a great place to just start those relationships. So I'm happy to provide photos if I know that in turn. I mean, yes, if they recommend me to a couple, that's great. Of course, I get a booking.
You don't ask for it.
But it is it's like I wouldn't shoot every venue for free. It has to be the venues that I feel I can truly serve them well.
Exactly.
And in turn, it'll be a great relationship.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So,
but you're right. If I were to shoot like every venue, I would burn out. Definitely.
This is the point. Yeah. But you're right. My wording is, I'm not native English.
That's true, I know. But what, you speak like 10 languages, so. How many do you speak? Yeah. Okay.
4.
Okay, 4, whatever.
But, okay, so they get free portraits, free location photo shoots, free...
I mean, free advertising.
Free
every time I post,
advertising, right.
I tag them.
Yeah, free connection or network. And it costs them an hour of their time. So that's a really low...
And some emails.
Cost, right. Okay, well, and then you get out of that portfolio, connections, and then photos to post on Instagram for SEO.
Yes.
So you tag the location, and then people, because clients, when they kind of try to look for locations, they will look at the photos of the venue, right? On Instagram.
And that's usually the start.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they're looking for a venue, but sometimes it's before they've even booked a planner.
Yeah.
They're kind of already start to look at the venue.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to get in front of them before they're even at the stage of
You got
booking.
clients from that? Yeah. Is that a secret?
No, what do you mean?
Well, that sounds very valuable.
It's just a great, that's why this venue thing, I'm like shocked people aren't doing it. It's great.
How did you learn it? Did you just figure it out?
Yeah. Well, I just had the idea because I wanted to see these places and I needed the content, right? And also, I mean, we know as photographers, we can show up anywhere and photograph it. That's part of the art of being a photographer is observing light and looking for the best places for photos. Yeah. But couples still do love when they can hire a planner, or a planner too, but when they can hire a photographer who's already photographed that venue, they do really love it. So it was
experience, right? This is
exactly. So it was a great way too for me to say, okay, if this is my dream venue, then what would be a way that would encourage couples to book me for that venue? Go to it.
And then clients.
And another secret, another one. If it's a public place, if they have a restaurant there, or if it's a hotel and they have a bar there, go get a drink there. Go get dinner. Take some photos. You've been to the venue. I did that with a wedding, or I did that with Bastide de Gaulle in the south of France. You put your
camera on the table?
No, but this story I've shared on Instagram too. One of my dream venues was Bastide de Gaulle in the south of France. It's another Arel wedding venue, or Arel hotel, but it's perched on the hill and it overlooks Provence. It's so beautiful. And that was on one of the trips that I took to Provence. I dragged my husband into this restaurant. I'm like, we are having dinner here because I'm going to book a wedding here. And last summer, I had not one but 2 weddings there, and he officiated one of them. And it was fun because then we got to have dinner. That couple treated us to dinner at the same restaurant that 2 years before he was like squirming in his chair having to pay for an expensive meal that, because it was uncomfortable for him. But I saw it as an investment, and I saw it as a means for me to get my foot in the door and see this place that I dreamt of photographing.
Well, I think
and then something. 2 couples were excited to book me for that. What did you
ask? Something. So you go there to eat, and how does it?
They had a restaurant.
Yeah.
And so we went to dine there. Yeah. And then while we were there eating, I took photos.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I mean, it was it was a restaurant, but it was within a hotel.
But photos of what?
The property.
Okay, so you're waiting for your dinner and then you're just making photos of
like
the
before
overview.
Or after, because it's at a hotel. So you walk in and there's, you're right there. And I could tell, I told the waiter, I'm a wedding photographer. Would you mind if I just walk around and take a couple photos? And it's never a problem.
And then people approach you, in general, like guests as well, or?
Normally not, no.
Just the staff?
No. Yeah, I just tell the staff what I'm gonna do. But I've even been to other restaurants / hotels where the part of the venue that's actually for weddings is closed. So then I've just said to the waitress, I'm a wedding photographer, I've heard about the venue, I'd love to just pop in and see the place, would that be okay? And yes, it's always a yes, they're just excited. Again, unless there's a private event going, unless there's some reason they can't.
Do you start a conversation with like, oh, you're so beautiful, can I take some portraits of you?
I've never done that. I mean, I've never, maybe I'm just not that bold, but I have heard of people doing that, like going to the Ritz Paris and looking for a pretty couple and asking them if you want to take pictures. You did it? Did it work?
I did it
not a valid
once.
best
I did it
answer.
once.
Okay.
I did it once, and then the photo shoot didn't end up happening at the end or something like that. But
I think if you're looking for a couple to photograph, a great way to do that is planners. You know, again, like reaching out to a planner and not only inviting them for a coffee, having a conversation, but yeah, if they have a partner, to say, hey, I'd love to, you know, for you to just get dressed up, have a night out, and take couples pictures for them. Again, it's someone within the industry that you're intentionally serving.
You know what? It's not fair.
Why?
Because you love networking and sending emails and speaking to people. I don't like that so much.
But it's a good.
Because I'm overwhelmed. It's like,
of all the scary things we can do in life, reaching out to people is one of the most rewarding.
Well, yeah, I can do that. I'm not scared of it. I just don't have the time. And like, but this is, I think I'm just gonna hire a personal assistant, and then she's gonna research everything, and then send messages, or I'll send the messages, but she will like kind of write it already.
Outsourcing is great. It's great to identify things that you struggle with, or that suck up a lot of your time, that you don't love doing, and then Are
you doing that?
So right now I'm not outsourcing anything, which I know we've talked about and you've said I need to. But I do have, I mean, I don't use an editor for photos, but I do use like an AI kind of a thing to help speed up the process. It's called Imogen or Imagine. I'm not sure how you say it, but that's helped the process. Essentially, you upload your Lightroom catalogs and AI learns how you edit.
And so it actually works for you?
Yes, yeah. It cuts my editing time in half. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, to be honest, I think they reached out to me. They reached out to me to partner up and stuff.
There you go.
But I didn't figure out how to make it work for me.
Yeah, you need like 5,000 photos in your spot on style that you want. Yeah, but yeah.
Interesting.
But it's
the
a great
setup
option.
takes a little bit of time, but then I never heard someone actually.
But off season is a great time to set it up. It doesn't take too much time.
Yeah. Okay.
But yes, yeah.
Focus on other things. But
good.
All right, I have a few more questions.
Okay. Before I lose my voice.
Oh.
No, I'm fine.
Do you want to whisper?
No. I'll just take a sip of water while you ask me the next question.
No problem. Can I actually also get water, please? Ooh, thank you very much, sir.
The service.
One second.
Take your time.
All right. So your editing style is quite unique, I'd say.
Okay.
Right?
I don't know.
Well, I just imagine.
What is unique?
It's different. I can see it. I can spot it.
Okay.
And I think clients as well. But I think when clients are looking for a location and then they look at the photos of the location and they look at who tagged those places or the location itself, do you think your photos pop up differently and then they're like, oh my god, I like this style, or this style is very different, or do you think you attract different kind of people?
I mean, of course I would hope that it would attract the people that would be those ideal clients. My style reflects what inspires me, which is the classical arts and the old world aesthetic of Europe. And so I would hope that couples who are drawn to that more timeless aesthetic would then see my photos and think, oh yeah, that's a very timeless, elegant way of capturing this elegant chateau and the elegant wedding that I'm envisioning in my mind.
It's actually very unique, your editing style, now thinking about it.
Because
it's very faded, isn't it?
The colors? I mean, it is more pastel. Yeah.
The contrast.
Contrast isn't very harsh. It's very soft.
Yeah, it's very soft photos.
I'm inspired by like Impressionism art movement.
Do you think it has a big impact on your business? Or how big do you think this...
My style?
Yeah, your editing style.
Yeah, I think like we talked about before, it's of course my artistic style, but also my personality. It's those two together that's what creates the brand.
Yeah.
So that's what, in the end, couples book me for. But I mean, the style just comes down to, I mean, my own like endless exploration for what inspires me and what I feel most drawn to. And so, you know, with art, we can convey different emotions and different sentiments in the viewer. And for me, I'm always wanting to nurture feelings of calm and delicate beauty and softness. So that's what's led to softer contrast and the way I use light. Even the places I choose to put my couples and photograph them is places where, you know, the light's really soft. And so
You only use natural light, right?
I prefer it. Yeah, I mean, of course I bring out flash for the reception.
Yeah, but not light like this, right?
Yeah, but I don't have large lights like that. Because you do?
I do.
Yeah.
No,
I just love natural light and just seeing how we can, how to use it to the best of its capabilities to bring out softness in people.
Yeah. It's your style.
Yeah. There's no right or wrong, and that's the great joy of being an artist. Is you learn photography and you learn what you're kind of supposed to do, but then beyond that, you can just explore and figure out what leads to the results that I'm most connected to, that I feel most not just proud of, but most aligned with in my artistic soul.
Yeah. Interesting. I think those are all my questions, but we have an audience.
Okay.
Maybe is there anything more you want to elaborate on?
No, I mean, I would be happy to open up for questions.
Yeah. Do you have a list of questions, guys?
I think a lot of those were already answered.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good sign.
About the venue, this is the most interesting part because I've heard a lot that venues are the first vendor that couples are searching for. So if you have a very good connection with the vendor, it's the most important thing. But I was thinking, if there are so many photographers out there who want to improve and foster a relationship with a venue, how do you stand out? Is it just a personality, or is it kind of so? Because they get lots of inquiries, I suppose. I don't know. I want to photograph your venue, of course they have. So
I think the hardest thing, the thing that they probably don't get as much, is the service first mindset. If you reach out and in essence say, how can I serve you? Like, what do you need? What are the gaps in the photos that you have to share? Is there a new space you just renovated that you need? Headshots need to be updated every few months. You know, staff come and go, people get new haircuts, right? They want new photos of themselves. Especially now in the world of influencers, where influencers want free hotel stays in order to make content. That's becoming less and less valuable for venues, for restaurants, things like that. So instead, if we flip that and say, of course we're gonna get something out of it because we are getting the photos, but our priority is to form a relationship and to show up and serve. And the wedding industry is a really beautiful collaborative space, right? Like, we all need each other on a wedding day. We could have a wedding in a field, but it wouldn't be a great, we need the venues. And we all need each other in order to serve couples well. So just thinking of ways to go above and beyond and serve, I think even if the venue does hear from 100 other photographers, they're gonna say yes to the ones that feel are aligned. Yeah, are aligned and are there to show up and be of service and not just take pictures and leave.
Yeah. So this is like one of the alignments, but there is also like the style of editing, maybe the style of communicating your website and speaking. Yeah.
But it is, finding venues that do align with your aesthetic of photography, with the kind of clients you're wanting to reach out to, that kind of thing too.
Follow-up. So basically, I was thinking, I found a venue that's basically around here, along the lake, and I looked at the website, and I was thinking I could offer them to look at the venue, take pictures of those. And also, I've seen that you don't have drone shots. Would it be of help for you, or do you need new portraits? This is what I've kind of was thinking how I could serve them, and I was really looking forward, like, to improve. Honestly, I'm not joking or lying. I wanted to improve how someone perceived the venue, because I've seen it going around from my own eyes, and I was thinking, why doesn't anyone make drone pictures? Because it's like so cool with the wings. Is this the right approach?
That's a perfect approach.
Right.
Yes, because you're coming into it with the mindset of, like, how can you show up and serve? How can you provide something that they're lacking and that you can solve the problem? Because all venues need great photos, right? And so for you to identify that and say, you know what, people should see how great the landscape is around this venue, right? Yeah. Do you have a drone? Okay, that's great.
You know where my old drone is?
Where?
In Lago di Como.
In Lake Como. Living a bougie life in Lake Como. That's funny.
Did you bring the drone here? Did you bring it today?
Here, no.
No.
I can come again. I just live 10 minutes from here. I can offer them.
In the spring, yeah.
I will.
Mm-hmm.
I think they are missing a lot of photos here, this castle. So I think they will value that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
That's good.
Yeah, and if you live here also, tell them that, because very often I found out that last minute a photographer cancels, or last minute they need a photographer for an event or something, and you are 10 minutes away.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that's very valuable for them as well, I think.
Yeah. I noticed I wanted to shoot because this would be another question, because you are doing style shoots, like the models, because I know I can get those from the model agency, but it costs. Or did you approach them over Instagram or?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I've done both ways. I've gone through agencies and I've done just reaching on Instagram. And I mean, I've had great experiences both ways. I'd say if you do reach out on Instagram, have like a simple contract just so that they know what to expect on your end and you can know what to expect of them. But you know, models are difficult because it's one of the non-negotiable costs of a styled shoot, I'd say, because you know, models they don't just model for the wedding industry, right? They need to get paid for their work. So it's easier for the rest of the vendors to kind of collaborate. But for models, that's the part going into a styled shoot that I normally assume will be a cost. Sometimes all the vendors go in together, but normally it's something that whoever is initiating the shoot pays for. So that's normally me because I'm the initiator. Yeah. But that's usually the biggest expense for styled shoots, is just traveling and then, the models. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I was styled shoot in Tuscany in April.
Mm-hmm.
We need models too. And I look after other style shoots in Tuscany, something like in Florence.
Mm-hmm.
What was my style from other photographers, and so it's beautiful. The work is beautiful from the model, and so we via Instagram we wrote him, and can you come to our style shoot? What we have to pay for you? And yes, so you can get better prices where model agency and something like that.
Yeah.
So,
Right, if you go direct to model and not through an agency, I mean, nowadays too, there are couples who have noticed that there are wedding vendors who need models, and so more and more I'm seeing like wedding couple models. So it's a couple that this is just like a hobby and an extra job that they have. I get a lot of, I mean, people will follow me and kind of, but they'll reach out to wedding vendors and say, hey, if you're ever doing a shoot in this city, you know, this is where I am. So you could probably even like hashtag model couple or something, you know.
Oliver Rose is from America.
Okay.
And he is from Germany, and they are
a
couple today.
Yeah, it's great too because oftentimes they even have he'll have a tux or something. Sometimes they already have something to wear.
I actually have something to to say about this free photo shoot as well, because it was a huge game changer for me as well.
Yeah,
doing free
me too.
photo shoots. This is how I got actually into the wedding photography.
Okay.
I wanted to do wedding photography. I wanted to get into the wedding photography for 6 years, and always I was like, how do I do it? I'm too good to do free work. Like that was always the mindset, and I'm too busy because I was busy. But then I was like, I had this mindset shift of like, okay, I'm gonna stop saying yes to quick money. I'm gonna start saying no to quick money and start thinking about the big money. And this is where I started like getting into it. And then by coincidence, I got in contact with a wedding dress designer. And she saw potential in me, even though I didn't have any portfolio for weddings. And then actually, to be honest, she booked me the first time. She paid me, but I realized that I loved those photos so much, and like I wanted my portfolio to be only those photos because I completely fell in love with those photos. And then I reached out to her, and I was like, "This was so good. I want to do it again for free." And then we did 2 more times. Then we had like 3 models,
Hair and makeup, yeah, hairstylist.
We even had like a florist that came with $1,000 worth of flower, like insane amount of flowers. It was insane. And this is the photo this famous photo that went viral on my Instagram.
Okay.
The 2 brides.
Yes, I know which one you're talking about.
And
Yeah, styled shoots are a wonderful asset. I think we can go over the top with them, but I also think, I mean, for me, they are the reason that I'm where I am today, of intentionally setting up styled shoots.
That's a bold statement.
I think, yeah.
That's interesting. That's amazing.
I believe it. Because that's what got me through COVID, too. In 2020, when everything shut down, everything was canceled. That's what kept us wedding vendors, especially those of us like myself who had just started. We had just started gaining a little bit of momentum, and then everything shut down. So it was a beautiful time to be able to come together and still create. Even though it was a stretch for people financially because we weren't having that income, but to just still come together and create beautiful things.
But people had that.
And then you really have the chance to create and show people what you want to be shooting more of, which is, I mean, all in all, that's just what's going to keep bringing in the kind of couples that excite you most and that you feel most connected to.
I have another question actually for you. I found out that a website is very, very important for a business, more than we'd like to think, even though we'd like to think that Instagram is more important lately, but it's still relevant. Your website's kind of beautiful, isn't it?
Thanks.
Yeah,
it's kind of beautiful.
I'm saying it is beautiful.
Thank you.
Do you do it yourself or did you outsource it?
I did do it myself, which I know you're probably going to yell at me for because I should have outsourced it.
No, I did myself as well.
I enjoy it.
You do?
I do.
You like design, right?
I do.
That's the thing.
Yeah. And I have a vision going into it of what I want. And so, I designed it and did it myself. Not HTML, but I have, shout out to Flow Themes. I purchased a Flow theme in the beginning. And now they have a really easy, streamlined way of just fully designing it yourself. That's what I've done.
It's Squarespace, right?
I use WordPress.
You use WordPress? Really? It's complicated.
I've used WordPress since I was in high school for different things.
That's interesting.
So
I thought it would be too complicated for photographers to use WordPress.
I think because I used it before I was a photographer, it just was what was normal for me. But it's whatever's easiest, whatever people feel less intimidated by.
Okay.
But but I agree, website's important. That's where you want to get couples. You want them to inquire through the website, to read the website, to get a deeper understanding of who you are and the work that you do. Instagram is just the stepping stone into that.
I can speak about it for hours.
I know. We can go on for a long time.
Another time. Any more questions, guys? Yeah.
But maybe
Here, take the microphone. No, okay. I'll just hold it.
Just repeat it.
Yeah.
There are actually 2 questions in one. You said it's important for you that you communicate with the couple and that they know you also know the timeline and have advice for them. And especially when you're abroad and you have to do a location scouting.
Yeah.
Of course, Google Maps and everything and photo tags and Instagram is super helpful, but it's also the ways in between the settings. You need to know where to go exactly. Do you have a plan at the beginning when you really don't know the surroundings? Do you get there a day early or how do you do it?
So I always arrive the morning before the wedding, as early of a flight as I can get. which I always hate myself for when I have to get up at 3 a.m. But I like to have that cushion time. And then if it's a venue I've never visited before, oftentimes they are fully closed the day before the wedding, but even if I can just drive to the physical gate, like get as close as I can, that helps me know, okay, yes, Google Maps does know where the entrance is. I can trust the route. I can check out to make sure from my hotel to the venue if there's construction, if there's anything that I need to be aware of. And I'm always booking hotels within like a 10 to 15 minute drive, because that way too, it's just less pressure on the wedding morning. I can get there much easier. So as far as scouting goes, I do as much as I can, but sometimes if the venue's closed and it's private, then I can't access it, but at least getting there and knowing where the entrance is. Because I have shot at venues where Google Maps thinks that the entrance is on the opposite side that it actually is, and then I'm glad I left early, because then it's 10 minutes for me to go to the other entrance. So it's helpful to do that the day before. But then if it's like couples portraits, like in Paris, for example, it is really helpful to dedicate a full day even to just checking out the hot spots. You can do the Googling of best photo spots in Paris, right? But then to actually go there in person and see it. I still will go the day before just to make sure there's no construction or nothing's closed for renovation, things like that. It's better to have that surprise the day before and then text the couple and say, hey, actually this place we were planning on meeting is closed, let's go here instead. Or like having a rain plan if it's gonna rain. So allowing the day before for that kind of stuff is really important. It's just a way to further serve and go above and beyond for a couple. Mm-hmm.
And how did you communicate this in your marketing? I mean, I also try to do the schedule with the couple to not that I don't get stressed today, but it's I'm not a planner. And
right, yeah.
How did you communicate it?
So it can be done even through Instagram, talking about the fact that I do that, talking about, the research I've done or the experience I have traveling in a certain destination. So I know, the great spots to go, and I have rain backup plans. So it can start there. It can even be a blog post that you have that you then send to a couple. But then the consultation is a great time to do that, because they might not even think of that. They might think, they might not think about what if it rains, but for us to say, oh yeah, don't worry, if it rains, I have a plan. I've even gone the day before a shoot to get a clear umbrella in the city that I was traveling to because it was going to rain, and we had a magical shoot in the rain in Paris. Couple fully embraced it, but I had to take the initiative and say, don't worry, I have a plan for this. You're in good hands, So it's as early as on Instagram, and it's intentionally then in a consultation, or maybe you create a PDF document that has the outline of what they can experience with a shoot, and how you do location scouting, and how they can trust that you're going to pick the best spots. I like to talk to the couple first and see what specific vibe they're going for, because I like to be able to suggest specific locations that fit that. So those are all ways that you can show up and serve before they even expect it. Mm-hmm. Good. Any other questions?
The same for venues for the planners, because this is something I cannot really wrap my head around. So if I would like to improve to get relationship with planners, basically it's the same thing like with venues, over Insta, try to see if you vibe. But there is a point where you would want to suggest, like, either you meet in person when you're there, or you want to suggest, would you be open to think about a style shoot, or is this too early if I did not meet them in person, or is it just...
It depends. I think if you send them a message of like, oh my god, I love your style, and my style is similar to yours, I love this moody, and you explain it specifically, I would love to do a style photo shoot with you. and I can help, and I actually know already a model, I know this and this and this. I mean, the more upfront work and the easier you make it for them, the more likely they will say yes.
Yes, I completely agree. Especially with and with planners, never take it personally if they can't do a style shoot with you, because planners, if they're having an overwhelming year, they'll have no capacity for a style shoot. But sometimes it hits at a perfect month that happens to be slow for them, and they can do it. But if you pitch an idea that's already thought through, and here's the inspiration, here's who I want to attract, here's where I hope to get published, this is overall the goal, the objective of what I want to do, that will encourage them to say yes, because then they can see it for themselves and then think, yes, that's perfect for my business, or that doesn't really fit right now, but they might be able to share another planner that would be a good fit. But meeting with someone first is a great way then to just kind of see and hear how their business is, if they have the capacity for a styled shoot. So it's just, you can do it both ways.
I think it depends on the person, if they have time to meet or not.
Yeah.
So, okay, because they're from other countries, do you think it's a good idea to also do it first over Zoom or anything, or is it just a no-go?
A first meeting? I think still over Zoom is great. If you are planning a trip there, then that's ideal, of course. But if they're not able to meet on that trip, it's still a great time to connect and then say, we'll have to do it on Zoom. But I think through COVID, we all got used to doing meetings on Zoom. And so rather that than not chat at all. Yeah, but it's a great first step, for sure.
Any more questions?
Okay.
Anyone? I'll close it. 1, 2, 3. I have actually a question.
Okay.
What is?
I thought we closed it. No? Okay.
Our question.
Just them. Okay.
No, it's the closing question.
This is the final question.
It's like, what is the future for
Okay.
you? How do you think you will grow? More.
If I look back at the specific projects or things that I've done that I feel most excited about, it's the multi-day weddings. I love getting to show up for a casual pizza party and then photographing that and then coming back the next day and getting to shoot the full wedding, already kind of getting to know the guests. I think it goes back to the fact that the people are the best part of my job. So I would love to do more multi-day weddings where I'm there for the full weekend. I can get to know the couple and their guests even more and create a much more immersive experience versus just showing up for the wedding day. So that would be the next big dream step, is to be able to do less weddings, but do more immersive weekend experiences for couples.
Okay. But what do you think you can level up on? So one of the things I learned is the more your value will become bigger, the more you can kind of stack skills. So for you, it will be design, your editing, how good you are with humans, photography obviously, but also confidence.
Expertise in Europe. I consider just being here, but also the more experience I gain with photographing and just being in Europe, the more equipped I am to provide an incredible weekend experience for people. And a lot of times my couples work with planners, so planners help with that, but I still always offer advice on traveling, on any of the logistics, just because I've had the years of experience. So I think if we think why should a couple book me, I think that's a good question for us all to try to answer. And that's a big one for me, is I'm American, so we have that connection. If they're an American couple, I can chit chat with their guests really easily, but I have the European expertise. I'm based here. I have the connections here. Even one of my couples, this was the biggest fear for a destination wedding photographer is not making it to a shoot because of travel. And that was it was an engagement shoot. And it was just a nightmare of a travel day. And I wasn't gonna make it in time. And they were leaving London just a few hours after we were supposed to have our shoot. And I couldn't even get there if I drove through the night. No, I could have. So that's what I would have done if it was a wedding. I would have just rented a car and driven. But so what I did, I had the network. They were going to Paris next. I found a photographer who could meet them in Paris and photographed, and I edited them. And at their wedding, her mother came up to me and with tears in her eyes said how grateful she was that even if all that travel chaos was out of my hands, but she said the fact that you were able to tap into your network and find someone who could still like bless them and provide those photos for them. And they were so understanding. They knew that, they said, you don't have to do that, but it was that service first. I wanted to do anything I could to make sure that they still had those photos. So all that to say, the more I pour into relationships, the more I pour into getting to know venues, locations, traveling, gaining that expertise, the more value I can provide to couples and the more well-rounded experience I can provide for them in Europe.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. I think if you will start outsourcing and...
All right, I'll do it.
No, well, you want to do it as well, right?
I do want to do it.
And if you mix your, what do you call it, your acting thing with Instagram, and you outsource it as well, the editing, I think you'll blow up.
All right.
I think it'll be amazing. What do you think?
Who knows? We'll see. Thanks for a great conversation. You have great questions. Good. And thank you for your questions.
Thank you.